We are back. I don't even know what episode we're on, but
8.
8. We got a lot of stuff that happened this last week, and I don't know about you, Dekkster. There was some great news and some not so great news that we're gonna get to later. This week we're talking about Kitty Pryde coming back. We're talking about Howard the Duck that came out. We're talking about next week's really anticipated card, High Evolutionary. And then we're going to get into the big news that dropped about card acquisition and just how the patch in general went with the different changes and stuff. So,
yeah.
What are your are you looking forward to talking about that?
The card acquisitions really took me by surprise. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on that because we haven't talked about it with each other.
We have not. We save it for you guys. You know, we save all of our discussions.
Yeah, we don't want this to be premeditated.
It's all completely off the dome. You know, we just completely say our thoughts.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Whatever they are, good or bad. But yeah, let's start off with Kitty Pryde. I guess it came back. It was out of the game for 2 months. I think it has warped the meta. I don't know about you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Kitty Pryde seems to be in most of the top decks at the moment, at least from what I'm seeing. There's a ton of bounce. There's a ton of big decks out there. There's even like a Shuri deck floating around where you get Kitty up to, 8-10 power, and then on the last turn you can Shuri and play Kitty, or you can you do Kitty on 5. You go Kitty Shuri, and then your final turn is Kitty Task, and you end up getting a bunch of power. So it's fun. There's still a lot of experimentation going on. She is an enjoyable card. I like that most people got her. I wish that new players also got her, though. But I think easily countered, too. But for some reason, people aren't doing that.
They're starting to. I'm seeing it a bit. I was one of the people, my last stream, I ran a Sandman deck for half the stream just because every single person was playing Kitty, and I was just like, I'm kind of tired of that. Well, actually, I would say I ran a Sandman deck, but it's more accurately a wave deck. So huge wave changes.
I was gonna say, wave a little better than Sandman. I actually run both as well. That's what I was kind of using to counter this was wave ramp, but also just any deck. Almost just putting wave as like a tech against Kitty is kind of a good idea. Yeah.
If you run any deck that runs just like some big cards and you're not trying to dump, if you're not running a dump deck, like you're not trying to just put a bunch of cards on turn 5 or 6, wave is pretty key now. For anyone who doesn't know, the change to the card, they made it so that cards always cost 4 with wave. So there's no way you can discount a card. Like Elysium does a discount, Zabu doesn't discount, Sarah doesn't discount, and especially Death and She-Hulk don't discount with wave anymore. So
huge.
It makes it so you're guaranteed to only play one card, just like Sandman.
Yeah.
But for 3 power.
Yeah. So I'm seeing it not as a combo enabler as much as it kind of used to be, as now it's just like a tech card. Still works really well with like Arrow. When I first read this change, I was like, oh man, this is going to be pretty good in Zabu decks because you could still play 2 4s. But yeah, that's not how it works. Everything costs 4. Yeah. There's like no way to discount those. As far as I know. So yeah, if they're trying to play, stature Black Bolt stuff, they're trying to play several cards, just hit them with the wave, and they cannot do that anymore. They're trying to do a 5 card, sort of play big miracle turn at the end. They can't really do that if you just play wave on 5. So a really good tech card and less punishing to play than Sandman, but still kind of gets the same amount of effect, I would say, because you get to also play, if you're playing it on 5 to counter those decks, you can also play a couple 1-drops or play a 2-drop with it. And it's been kind of my go-to card. When I see a lot of Galactus, I put Debris or like Cosmo for seeing bounce stacks, but wave.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this, and I think with wave coming back in a disruption way, I think we're gonna see more Magic come back actually, because if you're playing a bounce deck, you play Magic on turn 5, they play their wave. Their wave is now gone, right? Like it's not like a Sandman which stays persistent. So if they end up doing that, you can counter those waves with a turn 5 magic. So you do your dump on turn 7 instead.
Yeah. Also, this is a beautiful split you have here. I mean, people listening to the podcast can't see, but we got a Dan Hip wave with a golden foil background, I think it's called, and then a rainbow sparkle or whatever. But damn.
Yep.
I wish I had this.
It is a good split. Oh. Yeah, I got a couple golden wave splits actually. They just keep coming. Wave is one of my. I have 1,000 boosters right now.
Really,
and I've split it a bunch. So
I do not want to see your leech split.
I actually don't play leech that
your
much,
leader split,
but both of those are much less played than like Shang-Chi and Wave. You know, like cards that fit into most decks. You know, you split those a lot more, or you can split those a lot more.
Yeah,
because like almost every deck I used to run ran Shang-Chi, and Wave is so popular in any sort of big card deck, and previously those combo like Death She-Hulk decks, but now just ramp or disruption. That's pretty much what it's for, and I think it's better for those decks.
Yeah. I'm liking Wave for like just almost any deck at the moment that is not a bounce deck trying to play 3+ cards on that last turn. It's almost too good to pass up. And then if you know you're not playing against a bounce deck, you just play it on 3 and play your Doom on 4, and it's completely fine. Yeah.
Yep. I was running that ramp list just like a regular Doom deck, still good. But yeah, you do want to save it for those bounce cards. But there were a couple other changes with the patch. We had Crystal. Did you give Crystal a shake? Did you try and see how it would play out?
Yeah, I was playing around with Crystal, and I think Crystal is better than I expected.
Better than you expected. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
I want to mess around with Crystal quite a bit more. I played her in a Cerebro 4 deck in classic Dekkster fashion, and she was pretty good because guess what? You really need to draw a Cerebro in that deck. So drawing one extra card, while you're also drawing your opponent a card, it's very impactful for you. You need that Cerebro. So the consistency goes through the roof as far as being able to pull off your win condition. So I saw people playing this in Mr. Negative because you might draw another 0-cost card. You obviously don't want to play it on the last turn, but also like Zabu, maybe you get to Crystal on 3 and then you negative the following turn. Or if you Psylocke and then you draw Crystal, hopefully you draw your negative. It's just, I don't think it's great there, but I do want to mess around with more things. I think the negative example is probably bad because I think that's more about just getting a nut, just negative on 3, you win. If you don't, you lose. But
yeah, also, if you just included another negative card instead of Crystal, you would just have that card on the board. So it doesn't necessarily, it gives you an extra 4 power, I guess, by giving you like a free card. But I think it would probably be best in those 2 decks. I tried it in some other decks.
Did you try it in Ronin? I feel like it's so disappointing in what? In Ronin builds.
Yeah, I did try it in Ronin, and it just felt like a worse Ronin deck by far.
Yeah. I think your build of Ronin with Mold and Hawk, that's as good as it's gonna get. Putting Crystal is so bad because then you can't really use Hawk in the deck.
Yep. I tried a Maximus Crystal deck with Ronin.
I did as
Mold,
well.
and it just felt significantally worse than just the Hawk version. So
yeah,
I was like, Crystal's garbage still, but I did not try Cerebro 4, and I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna try that because that actually sounds fun. And as you know, the Cerebro champ, I gotta try to actually. Someone tweeted at me or something that they might have broke my record, but I actually didn't know. They said that I don't know if it actually broke my record. They didn't know what my record was. They might have seen.
Yeah, I don't think they broke your record. I think your record's still better. It's just in my latest video, it doesn't have the most updated time, so they probably beat that time and they thought they won.
That might be what it was. Yeah. They were close.
But if you pull up my stats on Crystal, you just pull up Giganut's profile and just search Crystal.
Search Crystal.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. Crystal's bad, 0 and 2. This is the bad deck we were talking about. You put Baron Mordo, that was a mistake. All right.
I got a Pixel Baron Mordo and I had to play it. Kristen Ronan
All
moral.
right.
But I guess this did okay. What is this?
Positive win rate. It's got leader. That's why it's good. Leader and wave. I could see how that could be good.
Yeah.
It's also got storm, which is really good.
Yeah.
Storm Jeff. Yeah.
It's just
Doom. Like literally, you're barely running crystals.
But it has Mordo
stuff in this. It does.
If you go down, you'll see Cerebro 4.
Also tried and failed. All right, Cerebro 4 Chef. This looks good. Yeah, this looks good.
So this is a weird one. I'm not sure about the Wolverine, but yeah, it runs a little bit of a destroy package. What did I have before Wolverine?
So what do we got on this deck, Dekkster? We got Carnage.
Yeah, Carnage, Medusa, Wolverine, because Carnage can eat Wolverine and then it becomes 4. Medusa is 4 power mid. Wolverine, easily turns into 4. You have Cloak as well, just 2/4. Colleen Wing, kind of played on your last turn, or you can discard Wolverine with it to make it 4. We have Mysterio, which is 4, but you can also eat the clone. And then Cerebro and Mystique are generally your last plays. We have Sabretooth, which you can eat with Carnage, make him, 4. And then we have Crystal to draw our beloved Cerebro more consistently. And then we have Claw. And Mystique can copy Claw if you don't get Cerebro, but generally she is copying Cerebro. And then we also have Sarah. So your last turn, if you play Sarah on 5, on 6, you can do Cerebro, Mystique, Colleen, Cloak, or something like that. Or you could do a Claw Mystique if you're going for a cheeky win. Maybe you have a free Sabretooth or something like that. But yeah, it's a really fun deck. I don't think it's like top tier or anything, but if you're looking for a fun Cerebro 4 deck, go for it.
It looks really good, actually. I think this could be like a tier 2 deck for sure. Like, even though you only gained 1 cube over 10 games, but
that was also
mean that...
I think I was playing multiple iterations of it.
And this was the Giga Nut final chef.
This is what I ended on, but I'm still not sold on Wolverine.
Wolverine, you're not sold on. It seemed, Wolverine, I guess you need the Colleen or the Carnage. Yeah, I think I would cut Wolverine from this deck. I don't know what other 4 drops you put in there, but there's got to be a couple other ones.
Ant-Man.
Power.
But he dies to Killmonger.
Ant-Man's hard. It's hard to get him off always, is the other thing.
Yeah.
You have to stack a whole lane, which isn't always possible in these higher Cerebro decks, unlike Cerebro 2 and Cerebro 3, which you're stacking a little bit easier.
It's hard, but like a Moon Girl might be an okay card as well, because you can get a bunch of Cloaks or a few Medusas, and then if you play Sarah, you can end up playing a ton of cards on the last turn. But
what was this?
What the hell is that? That was a month ago. Don't look at that.
Why is Crystal in that?
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, my Crystal experience was I think I only really tried the
oh wow.
It went real bad. It went real
6.
bad. It was I was also just like not leaving any of my games, so I think I lost like 4 to 8 cubes in each of those losses or something. So it was like average. It did not go very well with this deck.
Yeah.
This deck, I tried like a Dino Ronin deck. Would not recommend this at all. It was really not. It felt bad.
Yeah. It's been a whelming rework.
Well, also this is really bad. I probably needed Wave in this deck instead of Cosmo because Kitty was everywhere and it just crushed this deck.
Yeah. With bounce decks where they play 7 cards on the last turn, you don't really want to have Ronin. It's pretty bad. So maybe once the meta shifts, maybe if people start doing more Sandman, Ronin gets better. Doing if they play Sand and you play Ronin and then you play Doom, like that's a solid play.
Yeah, so one other card that came out this last week, I didn't get to pick it up because Second Dinner, for some reason, they haven't fixed my shop. Where is this? Look at this. Oh, it's there. It's there. They didn't fix it. I said it right now. It wasn't there earlier. Literally, they just fixed it. All right, well, now I could buy the duck, but I actually don't know if I'm going to after they made it so I couldn't buy it for a whole week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Should
I buy the duck?
The duck is okay. I mean, go back and pull up his stats.
Yeah, it was 49%. Let me pull it up. Win rate 49.8. So a little bit less than it's. I don't think it's making decks worse, is what I'm seeing necessarily. It's just not really making them better. Like it's very flat.
I don't think he's worth 6,000 tokens. I bought him. I'm collection complete, but I don't necessarily recommend him. he does well with Iron Lad, or if you need a like Jubilee and you know when to Jubilee, like he's all right, but it's just very mediocre. And honestly, I kind of forget to click them and check check what cards coming up sometimes.
That would be a problem. Then you're just playing like a 1-2 like bad card. I don't know. It's already I think it is a not good card. I think it seems fun.
I think he's always the most cuttable card in the deck.
Let's see how you did with them. You had one good deck I saw.
I mostly played him in a deck called Dr. Lad, which he could tell you if you should play Lad because you might hit Doom or you might hit Spider-Man or Miles instead. So he's good in very niche situations like that where you have him down and you have Lad, but that doesn't happen too often. I think he's better in that deck as a Nebula or as a Sunspot, personally. I
had some Twitter back and forth where I was talking, basically just like giving my thoughts there. People seem to, there's a small minority of people I think that are really adamant that Howard is better than people are thinking. And I disagree with that. I don't think he's better than people think. I think he's a fun, interesting card, but I don't think he's good. Like, I think we talked about this before. I think he's like a Kang where it gives you information, but it's not necessarily information that really you can use to like help you fix your RNG or whatever. It just tells you what the RNG is going to be, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily like change the outcome for most things unless you have a deck that you can make many choices.
A lot of people yell cube equity. Cube equity, cube equity. Like I get to see if I'm going to leave. They're snapping and I'm not top decking the card I need, so I'm going to leave. Like, sure, but I'd rather have a good card.
Yeah. If you had a better card on your board, maybe you wouldn't need to top deck that card because now you have more power in total and now you have a better overall position where you're going to win no matter what you top deck. That's the thing with the deck. People think that they're getting cube equity a lot of these times because they can't really see the difference between if they had Nebula in their deck instead of a Howard or something, that had more power.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of times on turn 4, when you're going to play, if you're thinking about playing out Iron Lad, even if you get just a 4-6 without anything, a lot of times that's the play you're going to do anyway. Like, a lot of times you're not going to be like, all right, am I choosing between Iron Lad or like, a lot of times you don't have Darkhawk or Rockside in your hand with Iron Lad. Like, you don't draw those 3 cards and have them a lot of games. So, a lot of games, you don't have a choice. And when you do have a choice, most of the time it's still just like, doesn't really matter. You probably will play out the Darkhawk or the Iron Lad. Like, it's better to just YOLO it, I think, actually, like for actual cube equity. And by cube equity, I mean like maximizing your expected value of the entire game and your cubes.
Yeah.
I think it
there definitely is is that cube equity there. Like sometimes I have Howard down, I have Lad, I have Doom in my deck, and I'm gonna hit it with Iron Lad. This is just the main case I keep thinking of. But I'm like, okay, I'm definitely gonna win here because I'm going Iron Lad. It's gonna hit Doom. Then I'm gonna play Darkhawk and Korg, and then I'm gonna play Doom again. Like I know I'm gonna win. This is just an insane amount of power. So you snap, and you might get 1 extra cube, right? But after they see that Iron Lad Doom, they're probably gonna leave. So he might get you a cube here or there, but definitely not worth.
But he could have snapped
6,000.
anyway. Is the thing.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I think if you do proper snapping and proper retreating, and by proper I mean like maximizing it in like the most efficient way possible, which I think most people don't do, including I'm not completely maximizing, right? Like the best snaps and the best retreats, but if you were, I think it lowers the value of Howard because I think you would be doing these snaps and these retreats based on percentages, and you don't need 100% certainty when you're doing these sort of snaps and retreats, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, you're ingredient. Too bad we don't have someone on the podcast that spins their Howard the Duck tale about how they think it'll be the next big meta breaking card. But
we could find someone.
But you know what would be maybe the next big meta breaking card?
Oh my god!
We talked about this last week, but Dekkster,
we got him nerfed. We got him nerfed.
Maybe we told the developers it was going to be too good because we are going to just put it in every deck. Didn't matter if it was using any of the cards because 4/7 was too good of stats. But it's now 4/4.
Yeah, I think
we probably have different opinions on this now for sure.
We should take full credit for it. If he was left at his original 4/7 stat line, you could just play High Evolutionary and Wasp in every deck, and you would probably be happy. It'd just be pretty freaking good. But he's now a 4/4, which makes him probably a card you don't want to draw.
Yeah, now in the High Evolutionary deck, he's like the worst card in the deck, which kind of sucks. You know?
Yeah, but you're paying for that big upside. It reminds me of Baku and Gen from Hearthstone. I don't know if you remember those cards from Witchwood, I believe.
The only cards that were ever removed from the meta early.
Yeah, but those were at the start of the game. You would basically get an upgraded hero power, so it was a huge upside. And they also had a big deck building restriction where you only had to play either even or odd cards. However, Baku and Gen themselves, you never actually wanted to draw them. But that was a 30-card deck. So you just had to hope you didn't draw the 30th or the worst card in your deck. So in this case, in High Evolutionary decks, you don't want to draw High Evolutionary. He's the worst card. You probably just don't play him if you draw him. He's just a dead card in most situations. So you hope he's left in the deck and doesn't get drawn. But I still think he just makes your entire deck so solid that you don't really care, and maybe you just don't play him. But it does limit that kind of thinking that we had, where just put Wasp, maybe I don't know, Misty or Shocker, and put High Evolutionary, and you can almost just shove that little package anywhere in any deck, and it'd be fine. Probably don't do that anymore.
Maybe Cyclops and High Evolutionary in Cerebro 4.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I quite like that. Okay, yeah, he's got that crystal stat line. You put crystal, High Evolutionary. Oh, I don't hate it. Okay,
it's probably not gonna be good. Like, I think that'd still be bad. I don't even know what Cyclops' ability is with. I think it reduces cards on the other side. But yeah, it's not gonna be nearly as strong as actually. Do we have anywhere where we can show what the abilities are for the card? I probably should have pulled those up.
If you go to snap.fan, it shows it.
Let's take a look.
But Cyclops is, when you end a turn with unspent energy, afflict 2 random enemies here with -1 power, which is kind of just mediocre, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
For the Cyclops deck. For High Evolutionary decks, it's pretty good. Or sorry, not for the Cyclops deck, for the Cerebro deck.
Yeah, for the Cerebro deck, it's not quite as good. It's so there's 7 cards that High Evolutionary changes. We have Wasp, afflict 2 random enemy cards here with -1 power, same as Cyclops, right?
That's a 0/3.
Oh wait, when you end a turn, this is on reveal. Yeah, so that's pretty good.
That's a 0/3. Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, that's good value. Misty Knight, when you end a turn with unspent energy, give another friendly card +1 power. So this is basically like a Sunspot, right?
Yeah.
Like giving another friendly card. So it could be any card in any lane, it looks like.
Yeah, random. It's probably, I think, the weakest of the bunch.
It's still a 1-4 if you're, maybe 1/5 if you're ending. Maybe you're ending. It's just like any unspent energy. So
it does incentivize you as a whole. The deck incentivizes you to float a lot or have unspent energy.
At least 2 cards do, yeah.
So it kind of ends up working out.
And then Shocker on reveal, give the leftmost card in your hand -1 cost. A discount card. This is some ramp.
I have a really good idea. I'm going to share it with you, but you can't do it, okay?
All right. I promise I won't do it.
High Evolutionary with Agatha. Huh?
Okay.
Because Shocker hits Agatha always.
Oh, a leftmost card? Yeah.
Agatha's always your leftmost.
All right. I promise not to do that deck.
Okay. Thank you. I know it took a lot of willpower, but...
I know, yeah. All right. I'll leave that one to you.
Agatha on 5, and then on 6 you get to Giga Nuts.
Yeah.
No? Okay, well, let me know if anyone likes that idea. Let me know.
I don't know about that. Next up, we have Cyclops. When you end a turn with unspent energy, afflict 2 random enemies with -1 power. So it is, if you end at least one turn with unspent energy, a 3/6, which is like as good as a Punisher, which we know Punisher is not that good. Punisher at its best. And then, but if you can get 2 turns with unspent energy with Cyclops, that's a 3/8, right? That's pretty good.
Yeah, and then you're incentivized to have unspent energy because of Misty. And you're incentivized to afflict enemies with negative power because of Abomination. And you're incentivized to float because of Hulk. So they all work together beautifully.
Oh, I didn't even see that Hulk does that. All right, we'll get there. All right. The thing, on reveal, afflict a random enemy card here with -1 power. Repeat this twice more. So it's basically afflicts 3 cards with -1 power.
Yeah.
But they want them to all be separate instances. So it could do the same card. So they don't say 3 random enemy cards because they want you. If there's only 1 card on the enemy side, they want you to be able to get that one 3 times.
Yeah.
Which is why it's worded this way. Which makes sense. So this is just a 4/9, which is a good statted minion. And it's not Shang-Chiable as a 4/9 because it's subtracting from the other side.
Yep. And then Abomination, he'll be free because he costs 1 less for each enemy card in play that's afflicted with negative power. So he's a 0/9. So when you play your Agatha on 5, on turn 6, you can play Abomination and Hulk and Wasp, maybe? Kinda.
Well, Agatha on turn 5 will also play Abomination out if it's free. So.
You top deck Abomination the following turn, and you get to play.
There you go.
An insane amount of power. That's gonna be crazy.
Hulk is ongoing. Ongoing +2 power for each turn you ended with unspent energy.
And
So how many turns are you ending with unspent energy with this deck?
With the Agatha deck?
With any deck.
With the High Evolutionary?
With a High Evolutionary deck.
I'd say at least 2 to 3.
2 to 3.
Maybe 2 turns on 1 to 2 on average. Maybe you Cyclops on 4. Or maybe you Thing on 4.
Yeah.
And then on 5, maybe you play Abomination, but he's not going to cost 5. And then,
well, that's what I'm saying. You could play the Thing and Abomination on 5, right? Like, and still have floating energy.
I think other cards that belong in here, like what you put Sunspot in here to further incentivize floating.
For sure.
Are there other cards that work out with it? I feel like Wong might be good just for more on reveals.
She-Hulk.
She-Hulk as well to incentivize floating. You could She-Hulk and you can't She-Hulk and Hulk. She's going to cost.
Yeah, you can't She-Hulk. Yeah, you have to She-Hulk on turn 5. So you skip like turn 4 partly.
Yeah.
And then you play Abomination, She-Hulk. You have to play out big cards early, which means Shang might be coming back to the meta with Hulk, Abomination, and She-Hulk in the same deck. Oh, man. Yeah. It is kind of interesting that She-Hulk and Hulk are now going to have some synergy, right?
Yeah, I like that.
That's some flavor.
Beautiful flavor, yeah.
But yeah, if you skip 2 turns with Hulk, it's a 6/16, so that makes it better than most 6 drops. But yeah, I think you minimum have to like float twice for it to be like good.
Finally,
6/14 is good.
Someone can keep up with Orca at last.
At last, yeah. But Orca, that can be played with other cards. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I think Hulk's finally going to be a good card, which, I mean, he's iconic. We want him to be good. Same with Cyclops.
Yeah, for sure. When you end a turn with unspent energy. Yeah, I think, if you get the Cyclops down early.
Have you
seen? You're not playing Zabu in this deck, right? No.
Well, maybe. Maybe if you put other 4s in there. Crystal? High Evolutionary is already in the deck, right? So it costs 4.
But yeah, it's like you're never playing High Evolutionary, though. That's the problem with this.
That's true. Yeah. But if you put Zabu, that makes it easier to float energy as well if you're playing a Thing on a turn. So maybe do Zabu in here.
Yeah.
Well, Cyclops' animation is beautiful. So I
love Cyclops animation. One of the best in the game.
Yeah, as long as you don't have epilepsy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like Visions. Vision has a similar one.
Yeah.
They have similar animations,
Yeah.
but they're great. But yeah, that's gonna be the biggest, like a whole new archetype. We haven't really seen that very much from cards. Like Howard, not an archetype kind of card, you know?
No. Yeah.
There
Kitty
haven't been
is.
many cards that have been released. Kitty's not
Kind of.
necessarily a new archetype. It just makes that new archetype much
It makes
better.
it go
Like
from
Hitmonkey,
okay to great. Yeah, Hitmonkey deck was
Yeah.
already fantastic on its own.
Yeah, because we had like Hitmonkey and Kitty kind of put together make like really good those kind of bounce style decks. Nebula kind of brought out the control decks were already a thing. I think the Living Tribunal will make its own archetype as well, coming out not this week but next week.
Yeah.
Like Jeff also good in those control decks, right? Like Stegron, not really a real card. Snowguard, not a real card. Nimrod, kind of an archetype, like a destroy type archetype. So, you know, there's some archetype things.
Yeah.
Mold
Kind of made
Mold kind of did some.
he kind of made the Hawk Ronin deck possible. you know?
Modok was an archetype, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Like it made that Apocalypse deck very good.
It's popping off for a while. I think it's still a little bit underrated, but I guess Kitty has kind of taken over.
Yeah, should we take a quick look at the meta and see what Untapped says is good?
Let's go real quick over the
real
meta.
fast. Because we always take a long time on this.
We take like 30 minutes and no one...
Whoever's still listening or watching, you know, all right, we're going to be real fast this time. Speed run. We're doing 70 to 99, 3,000 plus, the latest patch. Top of the board is Sarah Control with the highest Qs, but only a 51% win rate. It's just the Hitmonkey Sarah deck.
No Kitty.
Very good. I mean, no Kitty. Yeah, I don't know where Kitty is on this. Like, there's probably... I don't know if... Well, I'm going to take a quick look in here if there's... Oh, there's Kitty. Okay. Kitty is the second most played deck in here, so... And some of the other decks. So it does include the Kitty decks. But Stature, I think, is technically still better because it's got twice as many played games, barely less cubes, but way higher win percent. So I think it's just a better deck still.
Yeah.
There's just the Stature deck still popping off.
A lot of
She-Not
Galactus.
making a comeback.
Oh, yeah, yeah. A lot of She-Not. Actually, no, it's not popular at all. There's not a lot of She-Not. But I think it's just the magic in there that you were talking about earlier. That
Magic's good again.
might be pretty good. If people end up vomiting everything, you just got She-Not to, really play your final turn very precisely. Now you can bounce after that, right? Oh, no, Galactus. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Galactus and Bounce are both like
Neck and
very
neck.
high played decks, a little over 10% each. Galactus, slightly worse win rate as expected. Same cube rate as Bounce. I think Galactus is kind of farming the Kitty decks, which is why it's like much higher than normal in win rate and cube rate because Bounce doesn't run cards that it's like it needs to have some sort of tech that can beat Galactus, but they just don't run any. So it just gets farmed. And since this is so popular right now, the Bounce deck, Galactus is out there just having its way.
I think it's just always going to be the rock to Bounce's scissors because you can't really put power on the board. If you're playing Kitty, you never have priority. So it's like, even if you put a green goblin or a Cosmo or debris, like you can't get priority because you're playing Kitty and all your power is going back to your hand. So it's kind of rough.
Yeah, well, you could play like debris, right? Because they can't play Galactus before turn 4 unless
that's
they're ladding.
That's true. Yeah. So I guess debris is it, but you really debris is probably the worst option of all those cards because you don't want to necessarily have a bunch of rocks on your board or in your hand because you have limited board space.
Yep. And then the other comeback is Electro Ramp, very popular deck. Make it a comeback because of the popularity of Kitty. So,
yeah, this is putting it in bottom of B, but I feel like it might be a little bit better than that.
Yeah, I do think if you play it optimally, I actually did not do so well with it when I was playing in my last stream. I played probably like 30 games with it, and I think I had a losing win rate with it. But
I think that you just have to wave on 5.
Yeah.
That's really all it is. Like you Sandman on 4 if it's possible, But do not Sandman on 5. I feel like you lose if you Sandman on 5.
Unless like even against a kitty deck though, I think Sandman on 5, I still lost to a kitty deck sometimes. Because they just played. I was losing by turn 5 if I played Sandman on 5, right? Like I just didn't have enough power on the board.
But for some reason, Wave on 5 works. It doesn't actually make any sense. I don't actually like this most popular deck.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work is the thing. Like you need to just you need to play Wave or Electro in this deck, I feel like, to win the game.
Yeah.
If you don't get your ramp, you lose.
I don't like this most popular build here.
Yeah, I don't play this build either.
But for people listening, the most popular one has Arnim Black Panther. And Black Widow as well.
I've seen people do it to good success. So it's like the next popular build. Oh, there's nothing nearly as popular. Someone must have made a video about this because this is way more than
must have been that cozy snap feller.
I know Spessy was running this deck, but did Cozy actually do this?
I don't know. 5.8 thousand games is a lot for that.
Yeah.
Especially if it's just from the latest patch.
Yeah. I did hear about a feature that might be coming soon to Untapped. I don't know if I'm allowed to speak about it.
Well, maybe you shouldn't. Bite your tongue. But yeah, the meta.
Darkhawk popular.
I think the meta is healthy. Like there's some decks that feel toxic to play against, perhaps, such as Galactus. I don't really personally have that much of a problem with Galactus, although it does. Yeah. I don't know why it fees bad. Maybe it's the animation. It's like a slap in the face, and then your opponent just starts thumbs up spamming you, and you're like, please wait, have mercy. You know, I'm just playing my Dracula dump deck from 2022. And you're playing a Galactus deck. Calm down, buddy. But the meta's, there's a lot of variety as far as what's good, not as far as popularity. Once you do hit infinite, there's also less tryhards, less people going full sweat, only Galactus.
Yeah.
But
if we look at what's good in just infinite, a little Galactus takes a pretty deep dive in just infinite.
In popularity, 6%. Once you're infinite, Galactus drops down about 5% or so. Bounce does go up, but I think Bounce is fun to play.
Yeah, Bounce is fun to play. I would expect Electro Ramp to go up, but it didn't. What is everyone playing in infinite?
Bunch of random.
Negative, Nebula. It's really diverse other than Bounce.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
I think it's a lot of cooks, a lot of people experimenting with different things once you do hit infinite. I've played against some weird decks myself, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Maybe people are just booster farming. I have no idea.
Yep, that makes sense. But yeah, I think I like the meta. It's healthy. I feel like I can play a bunch of different things. I'm happy so far with how the OTAs have been going. They basically have said going forward that they're going to do at least 3, I think, still a month.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty okay.
I like the OTAs. I think it keeps it very fresh constantly and hopefully keeps the player base coming back. I did run a poll and I think most people enjoyed the OTAs. It's been a while since I checked that, but let's see. Yeah.
I don't know.
73% of people like them. 22% think they're okay. And 5% do not like them. The ones who think it's just okay. 5%. Oh yeah, the ones who don't like it or think it's okay, I think they probably had like their favorite card nerfed or something.
Okay, that would make sense. I guess. Like the nerfs, not so much the buffs, because I feel like who would hate the buffs?
Yeah, that's why I think they should do just more buffs on unplayed cards instead of nerfs. Because who knows, if you add 3 power to Venom, all of a sudden he's pretty good. You're gonna see a new deck take over, possibly like my Surf and Destroy deck. You know, that's a good one.
Yeah, I'm hoping they do a couple things in the next one, like the Dazzler, Uatu, Strong Guy, the cards we talked about all before. Maybe Punisher.
Yeah, I think they're working on it. Baron.
I hope. Yeah, Baron for sure.
I like as a 2/4. I'll make him a 2/5.
2/4. I think you need both Crystal and Baron cards that make your opponent draw, no matter if it's like to a negative effect in some way, you need to have it be slightly overstated, I feel like.
Yeah.
So
Because drawing is so good and hard to come by. So like, yeah, crystals should be at least 4, 5, 4, 6.
At least 4 or 5.
But that would kill
4 or 5,
Cerebro.
I would probably play it.
That'd kill my Cerebro.
4 or 6 would be too good, I feel like. And they don't want that. So 4 or 5, I think, would be a good spot for crystal.
Yeah.
But Bear Morto, 2-4 for sure. But yeah, I think I'm hoping they do good changes in the future like that. But they did announce some changes coming in the future. We should probably talk about that. They were some good, some bad, some very worrying, some very, very worrying, you know?
Yeah, we're getting to the meat and potatoes here. We're already pretty far into this podcast, so maybe we should make it brief, but I'll let you take the wheel.
Yeah, so if you guys didn't know, we had talked about this for like the last couple of weeks about how they had announced they were going to do some acquisition changes. They have let us know what some of those are going to be, and they worded it in a way that we might not like for some of it. All right, so starting off, they said they're going to have flexible series releases, which means that they're going to have some cards that go straight to Series 4, which means you don't have to spend as much tokens on it. And they said that's going to start next month in June. This is great, I think. I don't know about you. I think having cards start off lower is really good. And that means that the overall game will be just cheaper in general to keep up with. And this is something that I was like the most excited to see. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this first little bit here?
I think it's nice. We'll see. This whole announcement is kind of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the step back in a second.
This is the step forward. The step back will be quite large. But I think this is a step forward. You know, we've been complaining about this. Snowguard, maybe Howard. Like, these are cards that who wants to spend 6,000 on these? I mean, I do. I'm a content creator. But for other people, like, he's kind of bad. Snowguard's kind of bad. You don't really want to spend it. I mean, I'm sure they could see the back end on this. Who's actually, you know, how many people bought Iron Lad versus Howard or versus Snowguard. And then they can be like, all right, like we could keep people happy and just lower the cost. And we're really not losing too much income. So.
Yep. Yeah, so that basically comes to this. The second part of this is the flexible series drop, where it's kind of similar to, like, instead of just being released in Series 4, they're basically saying, like, we're going to take some cards and lower them faster down series. But with that comes some of the bad news in that they said, look, we recognize that some cards people don't think they're worth keeping expensive for longer, but that means that they're also lowering other cards, or they're lowering them slower, aka they're keeping them in a higher series for longer, which they've said in here explicitly they're based on the impactfulness of the cards, which leads us to the terrible word that you don't want to hear associated with a game, in that it might be pay to win. What do you think?
Already more so than it kind of is.
Yeah,
they're locking these. If you look at the cards that they're dropping, like scroll down a little bit. I went over this in my own YouTube video where I was not very happy, but it looks like their plan is to make not so good cards drop to Series 3, and then good cards stay Series 4 or Series 4
longer,
indefinitely.
Yeah,
and then Series 5, same thing. But yeah, like Darkhawk, I think a lot of people were excited to get Darkhawk. He was supposed to drop. People were expecting him to drop to Series 3. I think same thing with Knull. And those are staying Series 4. And those are core cards. Zabu.
Very core.
Zabu not dropping. Stature not dropping. Those are both very core cards as well in the current meta. And then Modok, another good card that kind of enables a new archetype, also staying Series 4. And it's kind of sad that as a new player, it's going to take you even longer to get your hands on these core cards. But don't worry, you can get Ghost and Dazzler and Shadow King and Sauron, which doesn't even see play anymore. So,
yeah, it's exactly what I had talked about. Like, you had basically said in one of these previous things that you're like, oh, maybe some of these bad cards, they could lower them down faster. And sure, maybe if they only did that, it would be better than it was before, right? But with this, I don't even think this is necessarily completely better in that like that they're lowering things faster, because it's just like I think it's a net negative here because they're keeping the good stuff longer, making it more expensive, and they're only lowering the cards that people don't play. And it seems like they're just literally looking at the data and being like, okay, which cards do people not pick up? Okay, let's drop those down because they're basically garbage cards. So basically taking like, if you think about it like a card game, a physical card game, they're taking that third party market where they're saying these cards have more demand, we make them more expensive, and we take the cards that are less expensive and we just make the cards that are worse that no one wants, make them cheaper. It's just like, which is not good from a card game perspective in general, or a game in general, because now you're holding back powerful cards and power in general from people who can't afford to spend hundreds of dollars to thousands of dollars on the game.
Yeah.
Right.
I realize it can maybe seem a bit hypocritical of like me to be complaining like, oh, Snowguard should be dropped to Series 3 or Series 4 because he's not good or she's not good, whatever. It's like, it's different in my eyes because, yeah, Snowguard's not great. It should be dropped. But on the same coin, they're like, okay, we'll do that. But because Darkhawk is good, we're going to keep him expensive. Instead of saying, okay, Darkhawk is just going to drop, next month, he's going to drop a series. They're like, no, he's staying Series 4 until we say so. Which I think rather have everything in the old schedule, where it just start at 5, drop to 4, drop to 3, instead of, some bad ones start Series 4, which they're probably going to do. And then the good ones will stay expensive for who knows how long. Which, I mean,
yeah,
ultimately doesn't matter to me as a content creator, but I care about it because of, the average consumer, and new players is what I'm most worried about. I was complaining about this, and some people were like, oh, I'm fine with knowing Darkhawk's going to be expensive because now I know that I could spend my tokens on them. And I'm like, you got to think of it from the lens of a new player, a brand new consumer. My friend who I said, oh, play Snap, it's pretty fun. And then he starts playing and he's like, oh, I really want Darkhawk, but I can't get him for who knows how long, unless I buy this $100 collector's token bundle, or unless I wait, and keep playing for months and months. But I want it now. So
yeah, there isn't a lot of get it now with this game, and now it's even less for the things that you actually would want to get that could make the top decks, which kind of sucks in a game that you're trying to, that they've said time and time again they want to promote this game and have it be viable for like 10 years plus. They say they want this game to go into the future, but when you're doing these kind of decisions that are anti new player and they're anti like these are decisions that are going to cause player churn, not cause players to want to keep playing the game, right? Like, you don't want to just like optimize your current monetization in the way that you can eke out the most money out of your player base, but at the cost of acquiring new players. But they did add one thing that I saw. I didn't have a thing pulled up for it, but there are new bundles coming out exclusive for new players, which some people got a little upset about that because they're really good bundles, and the people who currently are playing or are somewhat new to the game don't get access to them. It's only for new players that are like now starting, which is good, I think, for them. But also, I think the new bundles, they're basically like, if anyone knew, it's like the Jubilee style bundles where like they basically give you like $5 to like $15 for really good value. You get credits, you get a Series 3 card with it. I saw one of the bundles was like $15. You get Thor and like 1,500 credits, which is like a pretty good value because you get a card and credits. Like it's pretty okay value. It's like 5 times the normal value. And I just wish that everyone would have access to those sort of good bundles and not just like the
here,
players only.
I'm gonna link you this. You can pull it up.
You have it?
I just DM'd you.
Let me. Alrighty.
But just do that and scroll down.
Let's take a look. This probably has the new bundles in here.
For the Thor one, there it is. Oh, wait, scroll down.
Oh, the Thor one's right
there. It is.
Yep.
Newbie Day 0. This is a problem because everyone loves Peach Momoko variants or Momoko.
Yep. It's only $10?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
wow.
it's $10. You get insane value. As a new player, this is fantastic. But like I can't get it. And Peach Momoko is actually in my shop right now. And it costs 1,200 gold, I think. No, I know. Which ends up being what, like 20-ish bucks? So I have to pay 20 bucks for that variant. But they get all this other stuff. They get credits, they get the Thor boosters, they get the new avatars. And it's great for new players, but it's frustrating from someone maybe like you and me. I don't know if you're upset about it. You probably don't care. But it's like we spent thousands of dollars on this game already. And I would like to be able to get Peach Momoko at this price. I would happily even pay, $10 for it. But I have to pay like 20 just to get Peach Momoko. So I'm almost getting punished for being a loyal customer, if you see it from that lens. But I don't know, like, how do they do this? Maybe just don't offer exclusive or new variants for newbies. Maybe like the baby Thor would have been
I would
fun.
rather they do though than not. Like I think it will make you feel bad, but I think it's better than not having it at all is the one thing. But at the same time, I would rather them offer it to everyone, Like I want newbies to be able to catch up and like you said, this game has shown time and time again that being early adopters and buying in more is worse, which makes the game feel bad from a perspective of buying early. So it's like you're already de-incentivizing people to buy early, and so many systems in Snap do that because like the whole downgrade system does that. So they're de-incentivizing that, but this extra de-incentivizes that because it's like, oh, if I would have started Snap, I could have just went and got these bundles. Like I could go start a new account maybe if I had started like 3 weeks ago, and now I start a new account. Like it's better for me now to start a new account and buy all these bundles than it is to go on my old account, right?
Yeah. And I mean, we're special cases where we've spent so much on the game that they would rather just acquire new players and have them spend a little bit of money. Like they've already milked us for most of what we're worth, I'm gonna have to file for bankruptcy now. But it's like I wish that they could maybe just offer this bundle for everyone.
Yeah,
I don't see why.
It's one of those things. So in game monetization, from my time on Hearthstone and what I had experienced with the business teams and what their decisions were, like one of the big things you can't really do in a game is offer. This is from their perspective. Like I disagree somewhat, but they basically, it is kind of true in economics in general that like if you offer something for a too discounted of a price, it sets people's expectations to that lower price, and then they will not buy anything if it's above that lower price, right? So if you do too many bundles for people at these lower prices, they're gonna basically make this the new price.
Yeah.
So that's what I think Second Dinner is worried about by offering this to everyone. But at the same time, if you're offering this to new people, you're setting new people's expectations at these lower prices and getting them in there. And then all of a sudden, it's super expensive. And what do they expect is going to happen after they lose out on all the good bundles and all of a sudden they just have really expensive stuff again?
Well, at that point, they probably don't care because they've already gotten $50 from a new person.
That's my whole point about this whole thing is they're not thinking about the longevity of the game when it comes to monetization. I feel like a lot of it is like they're thinking from the side of how can we sustain ourselves and not the actual psychology around how can we keep players in the game for the longest amount of time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is coming from the Newverse side, not from the Second Dinner side, but
they've explicitly said that Newverse does not have a say in monetization.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, fuck me, I guess. That's not very cool. Yeah. Why are they doing this then? I don't know. But like I can't get this cool avatar. It's pretty sad. I don't know. I guess
looked at these other bundles.
Ben Brode's living on his private island, getting his abs massaged with coconut oil, and
I wonder how much they're actually like pulling in, like personally, each person that like because it's such a small studio that's like, and they don't have to pay out. They obviously have to pay for like the marketing and like the licensing for all this stuff, but like I guess some of these bundles are actually bad. Look at the currency value, 86%. So you actually get.
But they know it's a great variant.
Yeah, but so if you like variants, sure, this is a good bundle. But yeah, some of these bundles aren't that good. But yeah, I think it is interesting to think just like, are they really trying? Like, I don't think they're nefariously being like, how can we milk the players for as much as we possibly can and just like try and enrich ourselves. Like, I don't think that's the goal of the monetization team over there. I think a lot of it is them just trying to optimize spend, and they're doing it in not the long-term, really forward-thinking ways I think that they should be necessarily. Because I think I see that a lot at a lot of companies that I work for, because a lot of what I do for my day job is around analytics and financials and things, and how can we optimize spend. And I see a lot of people looking towards like, how can I make my next month's numbers look good? How can I make this new release look good? Like, they think each individual thing, they think about quarterly and things like that, especially at big corporations, which Second Dinner is not. So I don't know why they're so hard focused on these short-term numbers, it seems like, and like, how can we just like get each release to look good, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think focusing on that instead of how can we set our brand up to look good? How can we set our game? This is their first game, Second Dinner, right? You don't want to be labeled as a pay to win company and get that brand associated with you for your next game and for all your future games. You want to be like, you want to be the Riot, right? You want people to look at you and be like, I will play anything Riot releases, you know? I don't know if I'm going to say that about Second Dinner right now.
Well, it's kind of like how Blizzard used to be seen as like that company, and then Blizzard, no one likes Blizzard anymore. I mean, you know, they think they're kind of
hear any good things.
Yeah, you hear mostly bad things, but now Riot has kind of become what Blizzard was. So Riot has a great reputation, I think. I mean, they've done terrible things as well, but
they've done terrible things outside of their games. I feel like they did, like, it was mainly like the culture things, right, that were terrible at Riot that I remember.
Yeah. But
Blizzard had equally bad, if not worse, culture things going on top of their bad monetization and corporate like ideology, you know.
Yeah. So hopefully Second Dinner, you know,
I say these things. For any Second Dinner people listening, I say these things because I want this game to succeed and be good, and I want it to be, you know, for the future, right? Like, I want the game to last as long as possible because I love the game and I love the gameplay, you know. I just want everyone to be able to access it at different points, you know. I don't want them to leave the game because it's too expensive, right?
Yeah.
Just want to make that clear. I'm not complaining to just be like, you know, this game sucks, you know. I don't think the game sucks, and I don't think
the game's great.
Like,
monetization is rough right now. Obviously, they're trying to work on it, but it's hard to really see their intentions as a consumer, what they want to do, you know, when they're doing things like locking Darkhawk Series 4 until who knows when.
Yeah.
I think communication is going to be key here. And if they just say, you know, we're not going to keep cards in Series 4 any longer than 4 months or 3 months or something like that. Like that would be nice to know. I think they just need to completely backtrack on the cards thing in Series 4, honestly. I think every complaint about the game, like, they seem unwilling to make the game just overall cheaper, which they kind of were doing by having flexible series release, because it's like, if you just did only that, the game would be cheaper, right? And if you only had some cards going down faster, the game's just cheaper, right? But the fact that they're being like, we have to have a trade-off here, then that is like, I think part of the mistake here, in that they're being like, okay, people are willing to spend, we have to be able to get as much as people are willing to spend, right? Yeah.
I think that's a big mistake. They lost a lot of goodwill by doing a trade-off.
I'm sure they're thinking about it. I don't know, maybe like locking the Battle Pass cards in Series 4 for a while kind of makes sense, because you have your opportunity to buy the card, you know?
Sure, but that's still just like not new player friendly, right?
Yeah.
Because that means that new players that miss the Battle Pass now get screwed over because they missed the Battle Pass. That's why it's like, you got to think about the future of new players, I think. I want this game to grow. And we looked on my last stream, at the Steam charts, and the game is doing the opposite of growing right now, aka shrinking. So I would rather it see upward trajectory. We basically compared, like, if you look at the first like 5 years Dota 2 came out, like on Steam charts, it just had a straight linear upward path of like people like the game, they stayed playing the game because it's engaging. You have a game like Snap, which is so engaging and really fun to play and really replayable, and new cards are coming out constantly, so there's constant changes. I think that's a game that could just have constant growth for the first like 3 years if they just fix monetization.
Yeah, but at this point, it's kind of hard to get old people to come back because they've already messed up on the monetization.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I feel like they're digging in their heels a little bit on it.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, also before when the numbers were pumping, they were doing a lot of heavy advertising. I've been seeing a lot less Snap advertisements myself.
That's
so
true.
I think that kind of pulled back. But I mean, if you're seeing a Snap ad every 20 minutes of the day, you're probably more inclined to, download it. So they've definitely pulled back on advertising.
I will say the one other part of this that looked pretty troublesome was this one line here. They said, "We may even skip a monthly series drop entirely when the meta looks fun and healthy," which is another worrying thing that basically says they're basically tying how good the meta is to how expensive the game is. They're like, if the game seems like people aren't leaving and they're enjoying the game, we're going to keep it expensive. So like they're trying to do like price discrimination based on how much you're enjoying the game, which kind of still is not player friendly because people have expectations as they've set it up that things are going to get cheaper as time goes on, right? And if you just say like, okay, these have more staying power, we're going to keep it expensive. I don't think that's a good look, especially when it comes to like power level as well.
I feel like they're trying to lock things Series 4, lock things Series 5, and just keep it that way. So there's no series drops. It's just like, all right, Darkhawk's always 3,000 tokens. Is he worth it or not? The Galactus is always, he's a big bad, so he's always 6,000 tokens, so he's kind of worth it. So they're just trying to get rid of drops completely.
Yeah.
Or nearly. So yeah.
We can talk about two last quick things here that they added as well. Series 3 card acquisition. They made it so you can buy Series 3 cards with tokens again in the future. So that's coming back. I think that's a great change because now people can use their tokens to fill out those missing pieces a little bit easier. I think it was bad that they made it so you couldn't do that.
Yeah, I was frustrated by that for new players who just wanted more Series 3 and they just couldn't get it. Like you couldn't even spend tokens on it at all. If you wanted Patriot and you didn't have Patriot, you have to wait for next month or just randomly open it. Like that's pretty frustrating.
Very frustrating. So that's a good change, I think. And then lastly, they added more missions, basically a way to discount new cards that come out. They basically have created these weekend missions that give you some tokens back if you play with those new cards. So if you buy a new card, you play with it a bit, like a season pass card or a newly released card, they will give you some tokens back, which is a good way of discount. Like a good way of discounting. I mean, it's not necessarily good. It's just more discounts, which is good. I'm saying. I think it's another like trade-off sort of thing. Instead of just making it cheaper, they're like, you got to give us something to make it cheaper. And the thing that they're making you do is your time, right? Like they're saying like you have to play more to make this card cheaper, right? It's like a rebate with steps,
Yeah, it's kind of like you gotta spend money to make money. People are complaining about like
that's also true. Yeah,
you need to buy the season pass to get the season pass card, and then you can get gold, and then you need to spend tokens on the card. So it is like a rebate. I wish they would almost like invert it, like you win games to earn tokens, and then you can use the tokens to buy the newly released card. And then with the newly released card, you earn gold. I don't know. Like if they were just shake it up a little bit, I feel like that would incentivize people to play, even if they aren't paying.
Yeah.
So imagine
they're literally just.
I feel like people would come back if it's like, oh, you could just play and earn tokens, and then maybe you can get a random Series 3 card when you hit 1,000 tokens. If you play I don't know, however many games this month, you get an additional Series 3 card. Like I feel like that would be really good. Then people would want to grind more. They'd play the game more. They'd get more invested. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm really hoping they like.
In a way, the credits are tokens because you get to progress on the collector's levels or whatever. But
yeah, if you get enough credits for sure. But yeah, I've said this like 10 times on this podcast and on my stream. Like, I think they really just need to do what they said they were going to do after Nexus events, double down on the season pass and variants. And I think that's the way to really bring people to enjoy the monetization and Snap itself and make the game long-term viable. But like, because right now I don't see any positive press, anyone saying I love the monetization of Marvel Snap. Like, I don't see any. Like, I see some people being like, it's not so bad, like trying to defend it in that sense, but no one's being like, yeah, they got it right. I don't think anyone's thought that.
Yeah, I have never heard anyone say that. So
yeah.
But
it is what it is. This is one of the things that like I don't have control over it, but I hope our influence, second dinner, please. But yeah. Let's hope for the future. I do think they've made some good steps and some big missteps, and I'm hoping we get more of the flexible dropping, less so the flexible holding back,
Yeah, so I would like more clarity around that, as well as the way to earn tokens. We don't know how many credits we're earning, how much gold, how much tokens. Like, what if you earn thousands of tokens back, or it might be like 500 or even less. Like, we don't really know what they're going to
get. I don't even think 500. I think it'll be like 400 or less, Like,
oh God.
Yeah.
At least
that's my expectation.
Give me 10% at least. Give me 600, please. But no, I'd like more than that. Honestly,
maybe 600. Honestly, it might be that, but yeah, it would be nice if it was like get 2,000 tokens back, because that would essentially lower the cost of your weekly one to 4,000, right? Which is not bad, not terrible. I could then probably spend like $40 a month on the game and get the cards I want.
You can't buy the season pass with gold, right?
No, only for the very first season could you.
Yeah, it'd be nice to do that, so that way people are just rewarded for playing the game. So like you can just buy the season pass, and then if you play through the whole season pass, you get to do it again.
A lot of other games do that. You know?
I know Hearthstone.
Sure, like Fortnite does that.
Yeah.
With their season pass, like you can earn enough to buy the next season pass a lot of times with credits or whatever.
So you're rewarding people for their loyalty. Seems smart to me. But they make more money if you have to spend $9.99.
More money now.
Yeah.
But in 5 years, will they still be making more money, or will it go the way of some other games like the Thou Shall Not Be Named Valve game that came and went? And I know some other games that just like slowly died and shut off their servers, because they milked out their audience and then had to turn it off,
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm hoping that doesn't happen with Snap. I have bright hope for the future that they want to do right. I'm hoping they will listen and make adjustments. But yeah. I think that's it for this podcast, pretty much. We've been going for longer than we expected.
Yeah,
Any final words here?
It's just eat your fruits and veggies, and take a multivitamin.
And is cereal soup?
Is cereal soup? Are all noodles pasta?
Great questions. All right. See you guys later. Thanks for listening. Make sure you sub to Dekkster and myself.
Yeah.
On and leave a review on the podcast if you listen to us on the podcast.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys later.